Yes, I spent almost 600 days in this flag. You probably read the title and you're thinking, how? You can just import map art. At least I hope you are, because that's how clickbait is supposed to work. Either way, you can import virtual map art if you're a cheater. My mommy didn't raise no cheater. No, I built every pixel of this map with my own 2 virtual hands. This took 25,000 wool, tens of hours of building, several days of mostly idling, and yes, almost 600 Minecraft days. Also, $27 US. You can follow me on the stream to find out how. Before we jump in, I'll lay out the parameters. The reason I'm making this out of maps instead of wall blocks is because the trans pride flag has an aspect ratio of 3 to 5. That is to say, for every 5 units the flag is long in the direction the stripes are on, it's 3 long in the direction the stripes are divided. Then there are 5 stripes. This means the minimum size for a trans pride flag with the appropriate aspect ratio is 15 by 25, because there are 5 stripes of even size. That doesn't exactly fit in pretty much any build. Map art allows me to build something exactly 3 by 5, and because the trans pride flag is symmetrical in the directions the stripes are laid out in, and the same in the other direction, we only need 2 maps, the central map and the edge map. Then we'll make 15 maps, as in the Minecraft item, to make this work. If you find yourself at the end of this video and you're like, wow, I really like this, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like and subscription. If you don't like what I'm making later, you can always unsubscribe. In the beginning, I was naive. I thought, oh, this will be great. I'll build a cool flag. I'll see it around everyone. I'll think, yeah, this helps people I'm trans. And it's also super cool. Also, maybe people will stop calling me man in the comments. So, full of youthful vigor, we set out. Our journeys start, like most Minecraft journeys no longer do, in a cave. This is a 1.17 cave, because that's when I did this. But anyway, I just needed a bunch of kinds of resources for the first machine. That'll mean iron, since we're much too moral to farm virtual sapient beings in the newest world. Except raiders, I guess, and zombie villagers we accept as collateral damage. They're not really people because, look, a cut back to the footage! Because we don't farm sapient species, we have to mine. No iron golem farms here. We'll also need cobblestone, wood, and just the kind of things you need for everything. The soul sand, although I lost the footage of actually getting the soul sand. But here's footage from me on the journey back, and here's the soul sand right in my inventory. See, I got it! Gonna be honest, getting soul sand is a pain in my butt, every time. I almost accepted a lower output rate from this machine instead of having to track it down. And then I realized I needed a bubble elevator anyway, so... If photosensitivity is a concern for you, pause now and read the description. Anyway, what we need is wool. There are 2 ways to get wool. You can either farm a lot of sheep, although then we need shears and dispensers and to actually manage however many sheep. The other option is to farm string. I got this farm off Shulkercraft. It's not one of the videos where Shulkercraft credits someone in particular, so sure is somebody's. This farm uses soul campfires as its killing mechanism, something I'll admit is slightly alien to me as a relatively old-school player. It uses dispensed water buckets to flush mobs off spawning platforms and into a waterway that sweeps them down into the soul sand fires, each of which has a hopper underneath. Then it has a high-glass AFK platform with a roof made of slabs to prevent mobs from spawning on that platform, and also to prevent phantoms from spawning above it. The AFK platform and the anti-phantom device work elegantly. I think I've tested them as well as anybody at this point. The idea is that I can idle and get a bunch of string. That'll get us white wool. We'll need dye. I think we could have worked around with the sheep, or we would have only had to dye each sheep once. But the dye, I think I can handle that. It'll be easy. This will be the product of a single machine, and it'll be one that can be built without any frustration at all. Indeed, nothing in this process is going to cause any frustration. It'll be all sunshine and roses from this point out. And, with things so obviously easy for me, we only need to gather a little more resources for the next farm. I wonder if my pick had fortune on it at this point. You can count the iron. I'm not going to. The next farm is my design. I consulted the wiki and I decided that I would set it up in a swamp, since you can get all the flowers there from bone meal. This design is centered around pistons, pushing some dirt around on a regular loop, with a dispenser dispensing bone meal between the pushes. The flowers then pop off when the piston is pushed, and the carts underneath collect all the flowers and put them in chests. I spent a fair amount of time messing around in creative to make sure that all of this worked. And even with all of my cleverness, I couldn't get the central line of grass to it. Which, of course, is going to be where the greatest concentrations of flowers are. Worse, multiple times, a mob got in and stopped one minecart, which led to me trying to restart the minecarts and winding up like a bull in a china shop, stopping more carts than I restarted. But it works! The bone meal dispenses, the pistons fire, the carts pick up the flowers. I'm a genius! I am also, apparently, illiterate. I read the wiki and I thought it said that peonies and the light blue flowers would both spawn in swamps with bone meal. This is incorrect. You can only get the light blue flowers this way. Look at how cool this design is! Doesn't work. Just doesn't work. But I was undeterred. Before I tried again on flower farming, I waited. I had to AFK often at this spot to get all the strength. This is where I spent the majority of the 550 days. Just waiting here for a string to generate. Something like 300 or 400 days were spent up here, waiting. I installed one of those auto mouse movers because Minecraft seemed to behave better and freeze less when I loaded up when left to run for long hours or something was happening, and this just saved me a little bit of time. Days blurred together in game, and in real life, I almost forgot about my project, and my desire to complete it began to wane. Of course, every real life morning I had to hand sort the string from the rest of the loot. I pulled out about a double chest full of bones, and then everything else? It's just tedious work. And in return I get a few lines of wool in a chest. It's like taking care of a cat, except instead of getting love and affection, I get wool. Yay. I still need the right kind of flowers. I just don't have the heart to rebuild the system I built with the pistons over in the plains biome. It was a lot of work, so I'll use a design I've seen around using a dispenser instead of pistons. I kinda thought it would kill the grass, but apparently not. This design also produces a stupid amount of seeds, which I also have to hand sort out. But on the other hand, I need significantly less flowers than I do string, somewhere around a sixth as much. So it's not quite as galling to sort all that. There's also a cut in here where I try to figure out how the heck the repeaters work. I had some really creative ideas with toggles in a creative world before I thought, you know, I could just add more repeaters. Hey, you know what wasn't running while I was building that flower farm? While I was gathering the resources? That's right, the string farm. So, I underwent mitosis, and also bought Material Active as a username, setting up a LAN server and then destroying the duped equipment. There's your $27. Now I can AFK here even when I'm not AFK. And while we're making quality of life changes, why not add a sorting machine? This one is loosely based on one of B-Blox's designs. It allows everything except for string to decay above the hopper, but string goes into a vast underwater storage area. And when I say massive, I do actually mean pretty big. There were like 15 double chests below the water, all connected by hoppers in such a way that you could access all of the string and craft it down into wool. It does this to all of the resources that enter any of the hoppers on the farm using a dropper and a water channel, which weren't in B-Blox's design. I didn't catch it on camera, but I did have to repair this entire setup when a creeper spawned in it and blew me up. Luckily, I'm basically invincible because of Protection 4, but I had to repair both the sorting machine and also a bunch of the hoppers in the tower. So now, instead of hand sorting, I get to handcraft wool every morning. This is so much better. I am so happy doing this. This project is affirming to the way I use my life. I am artistically fulfilled. Yay. And then I just idled a bunch. I spent some time calculating how much wool I'd need of each color and how I'd put them. A document I promptly lost, but that was fairly easily recalculated. Sure, it would be difficult, but I'd get there. I'd finish. This would be beautiful. I'd even add a dark blue wool thread to make sure the things seemed sewn together. Around day 550, more than 500 days after this nightmare of a project began, I finally had it. Flowers. Wool. Now I just had to craft the flowers into dye, and then I could turn the dye into the light forms. Light blue dye, pink dye, the trans pride colors we'd be working with. I was starting to feel better. Sure, it had been a slog, and there was a slog still ahead of me, but I was going to have an awesome flag. Wait. What do you mean dark blue dye doesn't exist? Dark blue dye isn't real? I could have sworn... Screw it. It's fine. It's like 2 pixels. You won't be able to tell the difference anyway. I'll just kill more squid, and then I'll use black dye, and I'll even like it. See? Black wool. We've got everything. I told you I'd be fine with it. What's subtlety? I don't need subtlety. I don't need careful color gradients. I can just put colors that aren't very similar next to each other and nobody will notice because it's a small flag. It's fine. It doesn't matter. And now we build. This is about 6 hours of footage all by itself, compressed down into about a minute for your viewing pleasure. 6 hours of building was a lot, but I had the pleasure of watching it all come together and slowly emptying out all of those chests of what I'd been putting in them for the last 500 days. That was really satisfying. It was a great experience, and I can't recommend enough holding a map in your hand and building a piece of map art. It's a beautiful time. It's also a lot of fun to come up with a strategy for buildings being huge like this. In this case, I laid down a grid pattern of 4 by 128 spaces, and then I would fill those in. Laying down the grid itself, kinda boring actually. But it's really satisfying to just right-click a bunch of times so you're filling in a big grid that's as long as you can possibly build, or at least as long as the map is. I guess I could build as long as I want. At this point in the video, I've also gotten a trident from one of the tens of drowns I had to fight. I hadn't even fought the dragon yet, but I'm gonna do so with a loyalty trident. And here's the finished product. It's pretty, it's pink, it's blue, it's white, Hold on. Wait a moment. That's symmetrical across 4 maps, not 3. Which means the aspect ratio is off. So here's the problem. If the aspect ratio is dramatically off, all is lost. There's no point to any of this. We might as well have just made a 5x5 section of wall and said, "This is a trans pride flag." We are doomed. The project is a failure. I will have to spend another 500 days on this. I am defeated. The future has refused to... hold on. Can't it just cover the bottom of the block? That's pretty close, right? So here's the deal. I can get within 1 to 2% of the correct aspect ratio with 6 layers of snow on a minecart. No one's going to notice that difference. So we make the maps, 28 of them. We fill them in. We bring them to where we'll construct our map, and, rotating each piece into place carefully, we finish up our map. We also light the back of it, but that's not caught on camera. We struggle with these obnoxious, terrible minecarts, and when all is said and done, there's something new, unique, and beautiful in my Minecraft world. I only lost some of my sanity in the process.